The Heritage Project has also been beneficial in educating some of the young minds of Furness School.
The teaching of history involves the teaching of local history as well, and when I came to the school I wanted to teach about the homes, and of course we've got a ready-made history here for us to use. And so what I did was I got involved in the Heritage Project, which started in 2005, and as part of that I promised that I would teach local history to every year group in the school. And I do that every summer term. They study the local history of the school, and in Key Stage 4 the GCSE year 10 and 11 groups write an essay, a 1200 word essay about the history of the school for their GCSE.
Today, Rob Wallace is teaching some Year 7 children about what life was really like as an orphan 100 years ago at the Swanley Homes.
Right, now if you look at this photograph is dated 1896, so it's not long after the school opened, and it shows a mother, and what's she done? Who's she left at the homes?
A boy.
Yes, that's right. And she's got another child there, and she's feeling really, really sad because she's had to leave the boy in the homes, probably because she couldn't afford to look after him, because this was a home for children who were orphans.
The day-to-day existence of the Swanley orphans is in marked contrast to the way today's young men and women are treated, particularly their list of chores and responsibilities.
They used to pour, I think it was sour milk on the floor, and the boys would put a couple pairs of socks on and they would just slide around and polish the floors.
We all had to do our share of tidying up, clearing up and so on, help out in a general way. So yeah, I think we all mucked in and helped each other out.
They used to peel potatoes, they made their beds, they did all sorts of chores, like I've even read about them unpicking the mats, where these mats used to collect lots of bits of fluff and dirt. They would actually unpick them by hand.
And the Swanley Home's ethos of boys looking after one another still resonates today at Furness School.
I know that the older boys, one day a week, prepare meals for all the other boys, so that there is something still of that flavour of that left, I think.
During the war, things became even more difficult for the boys, as former student Tim Jacob remembers.
It wasn't a very pleasant world out there, and it was also a time of rationing, that children just couldn't go off and buy sweets on their own account. They had ration books and so on, and a limited diet, far less choice in food than there is today. So it was a fairly miserable time all round.
I can remember sitting next to on the dining room table and saying to the boy next to me, "I'll give you my cabbage for your potatoes." And he'd say, "Well, give me your meat." We used to trade foods, depending on people's likes and dislikes, but generally we didn't get very much to eat.
But the boys were crafty. They found other ways of getting food. There were 2 orchards either end of the school which grew apples, raspberries and blackcurrants.
Because we were always hungry, we were always trying, it was like a contest between us and the gardeners. They knew that we were going to pinch stuff from the garden, from the allotments, and they would, in the orchard, and they would hide in the orchard, waiting for us to come in. But we always used to know where they were, so we always used to call them names and say, "I can see you, Tolly." And he would get so annoyed that he'd been seen, he would chase us and we would run out the gate, down the road with our apples pouring out of our pockets. He never caught us, but it was a game, really.
We used to stand looking at the dog fights.
Seeing the doodlebugs coming over with Spitfires and Typhoons diving on them and flipping the doodlebugs over.
The doodlebugs was quite an awesome sound. You used to hear them roaring overhead, see the flames shooting out the barrel at the end of it.
And we would see them coming, and if the red light was still on, that's okay. If it went out over the top, some poor chap up the road had it. We were playing, I think it was football one afternoon, and a V2 came down in the village below, and And then we heard the thing coming down.
Swanley was in direct line for London. The area was often in danger of falling bombs.
For the safety of the children, it was essential to have some underground shelter, you know, where we could be, we were safe.
An air raid shelter was built in 1939 at the front of the grounds. Responsible for the younger boys during an air raid was senior boy Charles Sweeney.
When air raid sirens went, it was our duty to help the smaller boys, the boys 6 or 7 years old, get dressed, get the right clothes on, and to assemble back onto the lawn in front of the house before they were counted and then marched to the shelter for safety. Everybody was down below ground except for us 3 boys, and we patrolled the grounds at night, and we were trained to put out fires.
I can remember spending days and nights in the shelter, scribbling in an exercise book with a pencil, whatever we were, and if we got the chance, we'd sneak out at night with the Bofors, bob, 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 bob.
But spending nights in the shelter, sometimes for weeks at a time and over a period of 2 years, was a tough ordeal.
It was very cramped and it was very unhygienic, basically with 120 boys underground and staff. But it was the only place we could go to escape the shrapnel, the bombing and things like that. And we had very close calls. There were several bombs dropped around this area. Could easily have been on one of the buildings.
Indeed, in 1940, the Swanley Home was hit. The bomb caused extensive damage to many parts of the buildings. Luckily, no one was hurt.
During the Second World War, German bombers came over Swanley and Hextable and they dropped bombs. And the school site was obviously one of them because there were many buildings around. And this is a copy of what an incendiary bomb which fell on the school would look like. Not that big, is it? And what it does is, when it falls on the school, it would blow up and then it would set fire to all the buildings. And if you look here, you can see a photograph of one of the buildings with no roof, no floors. There's no inside to it at all.
Not only has today been a great success for the boys in rediscovering childhood memories, but it's also unravelled hidden gems. The Swanley orphans have taken Rob Wallace to show him where the shelter once stood.
Walking along today with Charlie, who knows a bit about these things, we found first of all a square brick arrangement here, which was the entrance to it. And beyond here, you'll find that there is a raised, zigzagged area, and we think that underneath that is where the trenches, bunker I like to call it, were.
Recently, it's been decided that the shelter will be dug out and preserved, in the same way the rest of the grounds have been. In the late 1940s, boys who did not go into the Navy were often transferred to a nearby school in Farningham to learn a trade. Numbers began to fall, and in 1950, the government started to withdraw funding for boys at naval orphanages. In 1956, the Swanley Homes for Little Boys was closed. Situated directly in front of the main building is a large tree. Rob Wallace believes it was planted in 1883 by the Prince and Princess of Wales to mark the opening of the Swanley Homes for Little Boys. For more than a century, it has stood as a beacon of hope and survival, a symbol of trust and friendship. And like the boys here today, it stands vibrant and proud. But it isn't just a tribute to those who stand at its feet. It also symbolises the courage of the orphans no longer with us, but never forgotten.
The stone behind Andy there is inscribed, I think it says, Furness School, formerly the Swanley Home for Little Boys, in memory of all those staff and ex-pupils who gave their lives in the defence of freedom. We will remember them, and in November we always lay a wreath here. One of the boys puts it here.